Good morning. I hope that you're enjoying the conference. Thank you, Arnaldo, for your introduction and very promising atmosphere for this conference, and of course the continuing development of the aerospace sector in Puerto Rico. Since the closing of Roosevelt roads, parts of the eastern side of Puerto Rico have been referred as the Hunger Road, or La Ruta del Hambre. President Barack Obama's designation of Fajardo, Ceiba and Naguabo into a promise zone should help revitalize the economy of the area by creating thousands of jobs. Attorney Wilfredo Reyes will further explain to us how this promise zone works, what it has done for this area, and the potential for economic development. Wilfredo Reyes leads economic development strategies for several private stakeholders, as well as cities in Puerto Rico, including Fajardo, Bayamón, among others. The most recent accolades in the public sector include establishing the E4 Bayamón Innovation Technology Project, contributions for the Promise Zone designation effort, the creation of the Puerto Rico Eastern Region's first Tri-City Partnership between Promise Zone designated cities of Fajardo, Ceiba, and Naguabo. Federal grant award from the U.S. Department of Commerce and Economic Development Administration to create the TCP First Comprehensive Regional Economic Development Study. One of his most emblematic contributions was achieving a landmark designation of the first foreign trade zone airport in Puerto Rico at the Aguadilla Rafael Hernandez Airport. So we're pleased to call Wilfredo Reyes to share us what he has done, his incredible job in the eastern side of Puerto Rico.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's an honor to be here in this panel. I'm sure you guys are, oh, it's already set up. Okay. Well, like I said, it's an honor being on this panel. It's an honor also sharing the stage with several colleagues of mine that I've known. Arnaldo, thank you for the invitation. I'm also glad to see people that I've worked with in the past. Jose Castro from Pritco, Javi Vasquez, Arnaldo, and others. This is a very interesting opportunity for Puerto Rico. People are always talking about how Puerto Rico has its challenges, and every place in the world has its challenges. But for us, it's important to understand that Puerto Rico is in a very good spot, regardless of how things have been and the news have been, pounding Puerto Rico as the economic issues that we all have faced and will continue to face, as Arnaldo was saying. Puerto Rico has a very good opportunity. And particularly, my firm has been working with local level stakeholders. And what has that done a difference, how the local level has come into a very important role, which is coming together, connecting the dots, and going after direct investment. It's easy, sounds simple, but it's a very good thing for us to understand that the cities are now coming together, understanding that this is an important opportunity, that we just have to go out there and yes, as Arnaldo was saying earlier, we can. Go to the second slide. Oh. Is it working? Okay. So, what is the Tri-City Partnership? The Tri-City Partnership is Puerto Rico Eastern Region first partnership among 3 cities. Why is this important? Because, as Arnaldo was saying, and as Javi said earlier, Puerto Rico became the 22nd place where there is a promise zone within the U.S. The U.S., the continental U.S., has 21 promise zones. And Puerto Rico has been and made part of the 22nd promise zone, which is the only non-contiguous, is the only promise zone that's not within the continental US. Why is this important for us? It actually, let me just give you a little bit of background. What is a promise zone? A promise zone is not, we're going to give you federal dollars. There's going to be a lot of grants right now, in place for that particular area designated. It doesn't provide direct money or capital, but it does, in fact, provide 10 to 11 agencies coming together, federal agencies, discussing with the local stakeholders how to build a comprehensive economic development agenda, and yes, streamline processes between the federal government and the local stakeholders to streamline a lot of investment opportunities, a lot of growth opportunity, and bring a new economic resurgence to what my colleagues were saying or calling La Ruta del Hambre, or the hunger route. This is important because the Tri-City Partnership at this point has embraced that as an opportunity to go directly to investors and say, we are coming together. We are connecting the dots. This is important for us because if we look into cluster development, we cannot go into any industry or private stakeholders and say, come to invest to Puerto Rico if we, among ourselves, have not at least lay out the foundation for the local government to receive those stakeholders. So the city of Fajardo, Ceiba and Naguabo intended to facilitate this growth and opportunity of the Promise Zone, creating initiatives among each other. So the first, and as we've discussed it, and on behalf of the mayors, because I have to say, let me just say, I should have started saying, on behalf of the three mayors, the mayors obviously, November is a very rough, well, there's a couple of weeks coming up that are rough for all politicians in Puerto Rico. And if we are lucky, one of them will join us later today, but they, of course, said they are very supportive of the Tri-City Partnership, and they wanted everybody here today in attendance to know that Fajardo, Ceiba, and Naguabo coming together within the Promise Zone is important to make business opportunities happen in Puerto Rico Eastern region. So I say this, and among the proposed activities that we're trying to put together is how to create this synergy between both private and public stakeholders, but learning how to navigate in an efficient, coordinated manner. So if we move to the, oh, now it's working. Okay, so we have the Eastern Puerto Rico Promise Zone, which I told you, 22 total Promise Zones, Puerto Rico having one of them. And the Puerto Rico Eastern region designated as a Promise Zone area. In June 2016, Secretary Vilsack came and made the announcement. Secretary Vilsack from the United States Department of Agriculture came to tell us in Puerto Rico that we were going to have this emblematic game-changing opportunity for Puerto Rico. As you know, this area and the lead applicant for this Promise Zone designation was the Local Redevelopment Authority, known as the LRA, under DDEC's umbrella. The opportunity that this will create for the three cities that are also located under this designation is all about economic development. And plain and simple, economic development coordinated in an efficient manner makes sense. It does create business opportunities, and the Tri-City Partnership, just for you to know, it's very important that by coming together, they have already achieved an Economic Development Administration grant, being the first three cities or the partnership, by the way, coordinated through the Planning Board of Puerto Rico, who also endorsed this opportunity. We are now going to create the first comprehensive economic development study of the region in a coordinated way that it will benefit cluster development. And this is important for us because being here in part of the Aerospace conference, it's all about creating this development by clusters. So we know that the Eastern region has a lot of potential, not only because of the assets on the ground, which obviously include Roosevelt Roads, and obviously the surrounding areas like Fajardo, the top marinas, the hotels, the opportunities in infrastructure. We are now looking as to this study to be a conduit within the local stakeholders and the federal government coming together with the private stakeholders and saying, listen, we're open for business, but this is the data that you need to prove why investment is important for this area. We wanted to show you here some important information about Fajardo. Obviously, Fajardo was the lead applicant for the comprehensive study, or the award federal grant that we got for the economic development study that we're conducting. And as you can see, the numbers prove that Fajardo makes a very compelling case about being the Eastern region biggest city in terms of population. And that's why it's also called the Eastern region metropolis. You would also see that Fajardo, in comparison to the other Eastern municipalities, has a very robust case about, as you can see, almost 37,000, 36,000 in population. When you compare it to Naguabo, which, by the way, in the new census estimates, Naguabo has gained population where Fajardo, Ceiba, and all the other municipalities have lost. So this is interesting because this region, as I was speaking earlier with some of my colleagues here, the region has a surplus of engineers. The region has a surplus of well-trained people, highly skilled workforce who is willing to have the opportunity, if it presents itself, to also be an asset to private stakeholders that are looking to well-trained people. We also have a civil, when you compare it, Ceiba, Luquillo, Fajardo has, again, the population in place to meet the demand of the challenging economic changes that the Eastern region is facing. Again, the population in the Eastern municipalities show that Fajardo is being used as the anchor, and this is important because when we created the Tri-City Partnership, and it's something that we wanted to share with you, the Eastern City Partnership brings the opportunity for businesses to go directly to the cities and carry out this sort of direct involvement between the mayors, the stakeholders on the ground that would help you navigate better when you're trying to promote or invest within those regions. Now, summarizing the three options that we have the Tri-City Partnership, we have the Promise Zone designation, and we have a pro-business environment in all of those three cities. Now, we're more than glad to remind you that, yes, the Tri-City Partnership is open for business, and it's also looking into how the aerospace will continue to grow as long as we promote coordinated, efficient strategies between the local stakeholders, the state-level stakeholders, which are also present here, and the federal stakeholders. So thank you for your time. If you have any questions, the presentation will also be available. There's my contact information. Thank you very much and enjoy.